Welcome to the new episode of Political Education for Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Nitra, and today we're dedicating this time to explore the transformative power of Black education through the lives of key figures like Robert Smalls, Anna Julia Cooper, Charlotte Grimké, the first school for African Americans in New Orleans, and the story of the Gregory School in Houston, here where I am now. Let's dive into how education has been a tool for liberation and empowerment in the Black community. The last time I recorded an episode, I won't say which one because I have no idea how I will release those. I don't know if it's episode 1, 2, 3, or whatever. I have not figured that out yet, but it's a podcast, so it's okay. I guess once I get into a couple seasons, then I can start numbering the episodes. But this is just, me and my thoughts. So, the last time I recorded, we talked about who did we talk about? Claudette Colvin, I want to say. It was Claudette Colvin. We talked about Ella Baker. We talked about the TSU riots in 1967. And we talked about some other key figures. W.E.B. Du Bois is one that has really contributed to the education of Black people and the overall education system as we know it today. We talked a little bit about the Brown v. Board of Education case and the different cases and issues surrounding that. And so today we still going to focus on education because I'm an educator and I like education. This is also an educational podcast. And so we're going to continue in that fashion with some more key figures, some more key Black figures who help contribute a lot to education as we know it and the education of Black people. So we start with Robert Smalls, a former slave who understood the value of education as a pathway to freedom. Robert Smalls also was very instrumental in Congress in the founding of educational institutions for freed slaves, formerly enslaved people, is what I like to say. He emerged as a monumental figure in the struggle for African American education during the Reconstruction era. His journey is not just a tale of personal triumph, but also a story of his unwavering commitment to education. Now, Robert Smalls, of course, former slave, escaped from slavery. His story is a remarkable story of courage and ingenuity. And remember, from our last episode, I spoke about how Black people were builders, innovators, educators, and basically is the pillars to a lot of the things that we are partaking in today. I would say it would be considered a luxury. most of that stuff it came through the minds and hearts and hands of black people in this country and around the world. So here's the story of his escape. Now, this is something so dope. There's no other word I could have used to describe it. Like, I think if I was there after that happened, I probably would have looked at him and been like, man, that was dope. Like, it's nothing else I could think of to describe that. So here it is. Let's get into it. So, in the early hours of May 13th, 1862, and remember the Civil War started in 1860. Now, this is 1862. This is 2 years into the war. Smalls executed a plan, okay? Now, he was working as a wheelman on the CSS Planter. Now, this was a Confederate military transport in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, in the dark, while the white officers were ashore, Smalls and several other enslaved crew members seized control of the ship. Okay, now they call it the CSS Planter, and I'm assuming that C is for Confederate because they call the U.S. ships, it's always USS something, or no, it's always SS something. So I'm assuming the Confederates had to put their little Confederate shit on the front with the CSS. So, and at some point I'll figure out what that SS mean. I know some people in the Navy, so maybe I could ask them. I don't know what the hell the SS mean. Shoreman? I don't know. Okay. Okay, let me not. So, Smalls, so they seized control of the ship, right? Smalls disguised himself as the captain and navigated the ship out of the Charleston harbor. Now, he used his knowledge of the ship's operation and the harbor's layout to sail past the Confederate forts without arising suspicion. Okay, now they come. Remember, this is a Confederate ship, okay, and he already navigated them out of the Confederate forts, right? Now they approach a Union blockade. Okay, so remember, during the Civil War, the Confederate was fighting the Union. The Confederate was the South, the Union was the North. Ultimately, the Union won, which the Union was the side that wanted to end slavery. Let's put it like that. In so many words, well, let me just say what they really wanted. Okay, the North didn't like the appearance of chattel slavery, so they wanted to get rid of that. But let's be clear, they were very much okay with keeping with the ideas and ways of living that were still treated black people as second-class citizens. They were okay with white supremacy. They just didn't like white supremacy on display. It was like, oh, no, slaves? Like, okay, y'all doing the most. I mean, it's just, this is too much. Look, people are seeing this. They're going to see that we have people in chains and this, and this. Like, we supposed to be the leader of the free world while we're enslaving people, mind you. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to Mr. Smalls. So Mr. Smalls, of course, now he's navigating a Confederate ship. He approaches a Union blockade right? So he's in the enemy ship and he comes up to the Union blockade. Now, guess what Smalls does? This is what he does. Cause he black, we got sense. He ain't no damn fool. He raises a white flag. He raises up a white flag of surrender to the Union. Now, he is in a Confederate ship. He done took this damn ship over, got to the other side, who would be, I guess, his, sort of like his comrades, but technically, because he's in an enemy ship, this is the enemy. He comes up on the enemy's blockade and says, "We ain't for that shit, y'all. We surrendering. Like, we come in peace." So, and just think about how these were black people who were enslaved. Black people got sense. We ain't no damn fools. Like, we got hella sense. And he had sense enough to know that, first of all, we done already stole this Confederate ship. So let's get the fuck out of Confederate Dodge, okay? We are going anywhere that is not Confederate, okay? And when we get to the Union, we coming in peace. We ain't starting no shit. We ain't about that war. We ain't about that Civil War shit, y'all. We good. Like, then, hell, look at this. You done got a ship, and you done defeated the enemy. This is what he tells the Union. Of course, he should tell them this. Like, this is a win. This is a notch on y'all belt. Like, y'all did this. So, so his ingenuity in thinking of doing this, he secured the freedom for himself, his family, and the crew. But remember, he is he's in a Confederate ship. So now he becomes an asset for the Union. This is the perfect example of how you use the enemies against each other for your benefit. When it says the enemy of my enemy is my friend, this is one of those examples of that. If you never understood what that meant, this right here, what Robert Smalls did, this is what they're talking about. Because we knew, as formerly enslaved black people, that we ain't had no side. Let them motherfuckers kill each other, okay? We ain't had no side. Because we know one side really ain't fighting for us. Now, we know the other side is definitely fighting for us. And when I say fighting for us, they is fighting to keep us as their property. Now, the other side, we don't really know. We don't even really trust it. But what we do know is that we going to use this shit to our advantage, okay? And that's exactly what Robert Smalls did. He used it to his advantage. He made the Union believe that they had made one of the Confederate ships surrender. He also then had them to believe that he was an asset. This is a military asset. Look at what you got. You got this big ass ship. I done brought you a ship. So this is something that, I mean, I can't say too many. Let me just say, I'm going to just say this. This, what he did, is a trend that I have noticed in researching and reading about these different black figures that people probably don't know about, because a lot of they're not household names. Harriet Tubman is a household name. ever since the Nate Parker's movie, um, gosh, I can't remember the name of the movie. Ever since that movie about Nat Turner has sort of become a household name. But there were a lot of other Harriet Tubmans and Nat Turners that household names that we don't know. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to uncover those Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman type folk, type black folk that we don't know about. So you gonna get you some of this knowledge. We gonna know about a Robert Smalls. The next time you have a problem with two opposing sides and you know that you really don't have an interest in it, but you got an interest for yourself, you just think about Robert Smalls. Now, how would Robert Smalls navigate this? Literally, how would he navigate this? Because he navigated that ship on out the Confederate forts without a peep. No one knew. No one knew at all. And then when he got to the other side, he said, look, we ain't come to play. We on your side. So after his escape from slavery during the Civil War, Smalls turned his attention to the cause of African American education. Remember what I said before in the last episode was the very first thing that black people did right out of enslavement was establish education systems. The first thing we said was, okay, we need to start learning and teaching. And that's what this guy did. Remember, the Civil War is still going on. Technically, he could be considered a fugitive slave, but, he was on the other side. And so, he was free over there. But he came in with an agenda. And he said that freedom without education is not freedom. And that is true. And those words ring true today. Today. Freedom without education isn't freedom. Now, he advocated in Congress, and that led to educational reforms, and it also established institutions that provided educational opportunities for the formerly enslaved people. Smalls played a pivotal role in the founding of the South Carolina State University. I did not know that. I'm not in South Carolina, but I wonder if that is a part of South Carolina's history curriculum. Want to take a wild guess? Probably not. His efforts were grounded in the belief that education was the cornerstone of empowerment and progress in the African American community. His legislative work included pushing for the allocation of resources. Hello, resources. You remember that talk? We talked about that. Resources. Now this is a formerly enslaved person who came out of slavery and said, hey, y'all stealing. Y'all is stealing our resources. We paying. We need to get the same thing that we pay. We need to get ours full dollar. And that fight for resources, went on until the Brown v. Board of Education case. And then, if you want to be honest, it's going on today. And that's something we can talk about later. No, not can talk about. That's something we will talk about later. Definitely, we'll talk about later. And he advocated for funding of black schools, He understood that those institutions were not just centers of learning, but symbols of hope and accomplishment. It was center of hope and accomplishment, something that we knew that we it's something that we knew we could do. And we never back down from a fight. And so if the fight is for education, we fighting for it. And that's what Robert Smalls did. His 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 personal accounts paint a picture of someone who was really deeply committed to Black people and our cause. According to the Journal of Negro History, Smalls was known to have said this: "My people need the light of education." Wow. Wow. And that's some words to live by. My people need the light of education. This sentiment was echoed in his actions and his relentless pursuit of policies that supported educational equality. Smalls' story, a blend of personal bravery and advocacy for education, offers an inspiring example of how one individual's actions can have a profound impact on the course of history and the many, many lives. Now, as we reflect on the life and contributions of Robert Smalls, I recommend further exploring his story through some remarkable material that I came across. Is actually what I used in preparing this for a in-depth look at his life and his efforts in education. Yearning to Breathe Free, Robert Smalls of South Carolina and His Families, and that's by Andrew Billingsley. If you're interested in the thrilling account of his escape from slavery and his heroic actions during the Civil War, Be Free or Die, The Amazing Story of Robert Smalls' Escape from Slavery to Union by Kate Lineberry. That's a good read. I believe I have that up on the Political Education for Freedom website. Additionally, for primary historical insights, the Journal of Negro History, that gave me a lot of information. And you can also use those as a broader context of the struggle for educational equality during Reconstruction. There's a lot of stories in the Journal of Negro History. Man, if I had the time to just go through and read all of them, it's just, I mean, some of those stories are just wow. It's just really just wow. And these are first-person accounts, and we'll talk about that too in the development of the Journal of Negro History. You never know, you may find a relative, a descendant of yours may be in the Journal of Negro History. So I wouldn't pass up on that. So Robert Smalls' contribution to education reminds us that knowledge is a powerful agent of change and liberation. Now, let's discuss my girl. Man, I love me some Anna Julia Cooper. I just love this woman. Y'all just don't understand. I just love this woman. An advocate for the education of African American women, her work highlights how education can empower and uplift marginalized voices. Anna Julia Cooper was an African American scholar and educator in the late 19th and 20th century. She held profound educational philosophy that resonated deeply with African American community. And I mean, her focus was on our people. And you will see the theme throughout that most of these people that I talk about, they are really for the people. Okay? They're not for the culture per se. They are really for the people. They are really for black people and the advancement of black people. So she was born into enslavement in 1858. She rose to become a powerful advocate for the education of African American women, believing that their empowerment was central to the progress of the entire race. Hello, can I get a snap? Snap, okay? Okay, I ain't got my sound effects down yet, so can I get a snap? Those were facts. Education of African American women is central to the progress of the entire race. That is a fact. That is also factual today. If we see now the amount of progress that black people as a whole has made within the last, we could say 50, 60 years. But we also see that the most educated people in this country is black women. So black women are not just getting educated just for being educated. We are also getting educated and moving our people forward. And so somebody like Anna Julia Cooper, this is what she was talking about. You know, patriarchy is something. Patriarchy is something. And that's the goal of patriarchy, is to hold women back so that men could have the power. It's all about power and control. And she talked about that too. Ooh, she had some good stuff on that. And she had a little riff and stuff with W.B. Du Bois and all of this. But let me not get in it. Let me finish, okay? So this woman was awesome. Now, in her work, A Voice from the South by a Black woman of the South, it was published in 1892. She articulated her vision for education as a means for uplifting not just the individual. Hello. Not just the individual, but the entire African American community. This is how you're supposed to move throughout life. You should not be going and getting an education just for you. You should be going and getting education for the next generation. You should be doing stuff to just not move yourself, but move your people with you. And if we move together, man, that's just something I just hate that I have to wish for it. Like, we are some powerful people. Look at how these individual people that I am speaking of, look how their work, how much it moved us as a people, as a whole, how much it moved us forward. Some people don't even think about how you have a population of people who are right out of enslavement. Okay? And so they're right out of enslavement. You have some anomalies. There are some people who did know how to read and write. But remember, it was against the law for black people to read and write. So you have a law that's preventing an entire race of people from learning how to read and write. I mean, of course, the law the law was put there so that we could be behind. And we have, I mean, just think about the laws that we have now. A lot of laws are used as deterrents. I mean, that's what they say they're supposed to be used for. Or that's what they say why they're created. But you can't say that, well, everybody should have learned how to read and write. No, there was laws prohibiting it. And so everybody don't run the red light because they know it's a law. And they know they're going to get a ticket if they run the red light. So we've been conditioned to stop on red. We've been conditioned to go on green, slow down on yellow. It's the same thing with these formerly enslaved people. They were conditioned to not do this because it was a law. I mean, I'm sitting right here today. I'm telling you, if I run a red light, I did it on accident. Maybe. Well, it's a joke I used to say back then when I was first driving. I used to say, the first thing, I mean, if I've ever gotten a ticket or whatever, I used to be like, look, I'm not breaking no traffic violations because every time, this is what I see when I'm driving, every time I do it, the police come down with the ropes like the SWAT team. You just, out of nowhere, they just everywhere. Okay? But the car right before me then ran this light, and I'm following them. The police don't see them, they see me. So I guess that's a example of, how the laws deter us from committing the crimes. And so that it's even on a much, much deeper level when you think about reading and writing, because it takes some time, patience, and it takes discipline to learn how to read and write. It takes the same amount to teach it. And if we think about these people who were formerly enslaved, it wasn't just kids. This was adults too. So we had people like Anna Julia Cooper who looked at it as it doesn't matter if 85 years old, you didn't learn how to read, you out of enslavement now, you gonna learn how to read. You should. And we should make sure that there are educators that look like us that should be willing to have what it takes, that amount of patience to be able to teach someone that's 85 years old. I would love to teach an 85-year-old. I could care less what the age of the person is. I can teach a dog. I did. I could teach anybody, or I could teach anybody. I don't care what their age is. I don't care what is going on with them. And I think it's something that is deep within you. You actually have to want to do it. It has to be a passion. It can't be a paycheck. If there's a teacher teaching for a paycheck, that ain't no teacher. I'm just telling you. I'm gonna be honest. Some of y'all teachers ain't gonna like it, but hey, that's just the real. You can't teach for no paycheck. Because for one, hell, you're gonna get burnt out because he is very underpaid. So Anna Julia Cooper also argued that education should be comprehensive, encompassing not only the intellect, but also moral and spiritual development. Ooh. Don't you like that word? Spiritual development. That's a development you can't see. That's something for somebody formerly enslaved to say, no, 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 no. We just don't need to know how to read and write, but we need to develop morally and spiritually. Now, morally, that's easy. This just basically how to be a human. And we know a lot of people who can need some re-education in that, right? But that spiritual part, spiritual development. She ain't say religion. She ain't say Christian. She ain't say Muslim. She ain't say Buddhist. She said spiritual development. That's something else. This is why I love this woman. Okay? She wants you to develop something, and then she gonna teach it to you. But she wants you to develop something that you cannot see, that we often want to see so bad. Everybody always say, I want to be spiritually whole. But we can never see spirit. We can never see it. And so why are you measuring it in halfness and wholeness? She said something that you can't see needs to be involved in education, because education is not just reading and writing. It's also spiritual. That's something. That is raising people to be people. That is raising people to be people. And I think we also need that. We need that right now. Her education philosophy was not about just acquiring knowledge, but shaping one's character and identity. Character. We is missing some of that today. Her philosophy emphasized the importance of higher education for African American women. She believed that educated Black women had a critical role to play in uplifting the communities and combating racial and gender stereotypes. Now, racial and gender stereotypes. Now, Miss Cooper published this in 1892. Let me say that again. She published this in 1892. And she's talking about racial and gender stereotypes. This is her talking about intersectionality. We've been hearing that conversation about intersectionality, and someone coined the phrase intersectionality. I forgot. I want to say it was Kimberly Crenshaw, but I could be wrong, because I think Kimberly Crenshaw referenced someone else in that material that she developed. But I think the phrasing was something that she may have coined, intersectionality. But intersectionality wasn't pointed out or talked about or uplifted when the word intersectionality came into play. No, we had people around that was already talking about intersectionality. This is one right here, Anna Julia Cooper. This is her famous quote: "Only the Black woman." This is a Black woman for you. Her famous quote: "Only the Black woman can say when and where I enter, and the quiet, undisputed dignity of my womanhood, without violence and without suing or special patronage. Then and there, the whole race enters with me." That man. Whew, did that give you chills? That gave me a little chill. Gave me a little chill. Maybe a little bit. Her belief in transformative power of educated African American. That was it. That's it. There is transformative power in educated Black women. Y'all, we seeing it right now, today. And guess what? They scared. They scared, y'all. They are scared. They are scared. Y'all see today in 2023, there is an all-out assault on black women. I mean, that's just real. I don't want to hear nothing about no feminists and no white women and all of that shit and none of that. I don't want to hear that. Because oftentimes we see that when there is question about race and gender, white women often choose their race over gender. It is a proven fact. They often choose their race over gender. This how you know, okay? White women will always align with white men. White women will always align with white women. Very seldom do you see white women aligning with black women. And not just aligning with them because this is beneficial for them, but aligning with them because they know this is the truth and the light. That's very, very seldom you'll see them do that. Because if they are doing that, and if they're really doing that, if they're really aligning with black women, they would put black women out front. But we could see from the women's movement that white women was too worried about them being pure and whole and white than for them to be just human or women. Because if they saw themselves as not just white women but just women, then that women's movement, so-called movement, the so-called women's movement, you would have saw a lot of black women, because the shit that they was fighting for in that women's movement, because y'all know they co-opted it, black women had been fighting for that. And Miss Anna Julia Cooper can tell you right there. She was saying this in 1892. Wasn't no white women talking about this in no fucking 1892. They asses still couldn't get a damn credit card or a house. They couldn't even own property. They still was sitting up behind the white man. This is what they saying, sitting up behind the white one. Well, at least I ain't black. Well, at least I ain't black. That's what they were doing. But I ain't black, though. Why, you can't do shit. You ain't got nothing in your name. You can't even have a damn job without permission. At least I ain't black. Anna Julia Cooper was telling your ass this in 1892. If you had been fighting with her in 1892, well, hell, in the 1900s, you probably would have had some fucking rights. Because Anna Julia Cooper wasn't by herself. There was a few more with her. Okay? There was a few more. I could name them. But I ain't going to name them because we going to talk about them. We going to talk about them. Now, her work as an educator, particularly as the principal of the M Street School, known today as Dunbar High School in Washington, D.C., I love this place. I love this story of Dunbar High School. There is a book that I just love. It is called First Class. If you have not, read that book. That book gives you a full account of the legacy of Dunbar High School. It goes through the history so wonderfully. It's all woven together in a beautiful mosaic of words. It's just this that this story in that book, the way they tell the story, it makes you feel like you're inside of Dunbar High School, but you also feel like, oh shit, like you want to hear more. You want to hear more. They put first person accounts in there. They have accounts to the different hearings that went on. They spoke to some former Dunbar High School's alum. Um, they also talked about the issues with the Dunbar High School and how they was gonna move it and how the alumni got on it and they were like, hell no, what y'all doing? And, oh, it's a lot. They went into it. It was really some tea. Now that's some real tea. Now we over here making up tea, and we had real tea. We got tea for days. Okay, we over here lying on people and shit, making up rumors, all kind of shit, scripting shows and shit, and we got the tea right here. Like, you know, black people gonna say some shit if they don't like it, and it's theirs. Mm-mm. No, I'm a part of that shit. No, we finna get this straight. And that's what they did. But y'all read the book First Class, you're gonna know the outcome of that. It was a very, very good read. I started reading and I could not stop. Dunbar High School was the practical manifestation of Anna Julia Cooper's philosophy. Under her leadership, the school became a beacon of excellence in African American education, setting high academic standards and producing graduates who went on to achieve significant success. I want y'all to think about the people that you hear, often whose names are out in the front in different times, because if we want to say, let's say the 19th century, we want to do early 1900. If you look at 40s, 50s, if you look at the 60s, okay, 60s was heavily documented. I'll just say that. I like that era because of that, and it was heavily documented by black journalists, black intellectuals, black thought leaders, and that's why I just love reading that era. Not that they were just only talking about the 60s, but they were also coming from experiencing, 1900s, 30s, 40s, and so on. And so if you think about some of the key figures that you know of, there's some names that you might know. Look at what, if they are from the DC area and they are, prominent figures within, the community, or their names are in, in the ethos, whatever, I bet you they had some kind of connection to Dunbar High School. I just wish so bad that I knew somebody in my family from Dunbar High School. But that ain't happening, because we in the South. We was not in D.C. Damn sure wasn't in Washington, D.C. And, hell, well, everyone where my family come from, it was one high school, one middle school. I don't even think they had middle school. But, Dunbar High School really set the standard. And the success of those people from Dunbar High School, it was real success. It wasn't no affirmative action. Hello. That means people did stuff because that's what they like to say. Not y'all. I'm gonna say they like to say black people ain't get smart till affirmative action. You out your damn mind. You done lost your entire mind. You lost your entire mind. Didn't you hear me just read about Robert Smalls? Robert Smalls done tricked the enemy. He didn't trick the enemy. This is an enslaved person. Black people were smart way before affirmative action. Okay? Affirmative action ain't do shit but make y'all feel better. It just made y'all feel better because y'all know y'all was wrong. You're still wrong. Hell, I just seen a story came out today about or a story came out, maybe it was last week. It was about tech companies laying off people, and apparently they are laying off more black people than anything. Now, look at all of the advancements that we've made in tech within the last few years. And this is what they doing. They want to throw all of that away. They want to take it back. Like, this is them. They're creating stagnation within our own generation because they racist. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to cut that racist shit out. That racist shit ain't getting nobody nowhere. It really costs us. I also read a story about that. Racism has cost America about a few $1 trillion. A few $1 trillion. That was a study done by Citibank a while back. So I guess y'all really don't want to be the leader of the free world. Y'all want to hedge your bet on racism. Okay. Now, let me get back to my girl, Anna Julia Cooper. So her philosophy is one of empowerment, resilience, and the unwavering belief in the potential of African American women to be agents of change in their communities and beyond. That is what we are today. We are real change agents today. Y'all see all of those campaigns that say trust black women? They ain't lying to you. You better trust them. Okay, don't trust. All right. Okay, you better trust them. You gonna find your ass in Gilead, under his eye. You better stop it. You better stop playing. Now, Anna Julia Cooper's educational journey, beginning in the segregated schools of Raleigh, North Carolina, saw her excel academically, leading her to Oberlin College. Now, there was a few other people who went to Oberlin College also. I want to say it was either Mary Church Terrell or Mary Ellen Pleasant. That was a Mary. I can't remember. I'll give facts about that though, because we don't put out bad information. There was a few other prominent black women that went to Oberlin College. She earned both her bachelor's and master's degree. Her tenure as the principal of the Elm Street School in Washington, D.C. was marked by her innovative and rigorous curriculum, setting high standards for African American students and showcasing their intellectual capabilities. Navigating the complexities of a segregated education system, Cooper dealt adeptly with two segregated superintendents and school boards, one representing the African American community and the other while leading an all-black school. I'm sorry, any other white. So she had to deal with two, a black one and a white one. We know the black one. They was, of course, representing the community. We know the white one. He He ain't got no dog in this fight. Why are you here, sir? Why are you here? Talking about black people, telling black people what they need to do, about how they need to learn and all this shit. That just gets on my damn nerves. Y'all don't know nothing. Just shut up. Always trying to tell somebody how to do something. Why don't you fix your shit first? How about that? Okay. That was my little sidebar rant. All while doing this, leading an all-black school, her focus remained on the welfare and education of her students, undeterred by the challenging dynamics of these divided administrations. In her work, A Voice from the South by a Woman in the South, she laid out her educational philosophy, which influenced significantly the discourse on black education. Notably, some of W.E.B. Du Bois's writings, on education were inspired by who? Cooper's work. Hello. Demonstrating her profound impact on the intellectual thought of the time. Look at that. Her advocacy for higher education for black women in particular was a pre means before, y'all, precursor, okay, to Du Bois's concept of the talented 10th. Though Cooper uniquely centered black women in this elite group, Cooper's own inspiration came from other remarkable black women of her era. She was influenced by the likes of Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, whose strength and activism provided a model for combining education with social justice. These women exemplified the power of resilience and determination, traits that Cooper embodied in her own life work. My admiration for Anna Julia Cooper is deeply rooted in her dedication to the upliftment of black people, mainly black women, through education. Her life's work stand as a testament to the power of education as a means of social change, and her ability to maintain focus on the children she served amidst the complexities of segregation is nothing short of inspirational. Cooper's legacy continues to resonate, especially among black educators and students, underscoring the transformative potential of education and the enduring impact of committed and passionate educators. I would consider myself one. Hello, me. Yes. As we delve deeper into the story of Anna Julia Cooper and her spirit in the face of segregation, it's important to confront the stark realities and challenges she faced, particularly with the white-dominated education administration of her time. Yeah, we had to get there. So her tenure at M Street School, also now known as Dunbar High School, was marked by constant battles with white school board and superintendent who, frankly, had little interest in the genuine education and advancement of black students. Why would they? Now picture this. A white superintendent and school board entrenched in prevailing racist ideologies of the era, and I wouldn't even say of the era because those still go on today, dictating how black students should be educated. Didn't I tell them to shut the hell up? Stop trying to tell us how we should be learning and teaching our kids. We know our kids. It's a glaring example of systemic racism, where those in power had no real understanding or concern for the needs and potential of black students. This was an era where, tragically, the education of black children was often seen as a matter of control rather than empowerment of those black children. One particularly jarring instance was a racist remark made by a white superintendent regarding Dunbar High School during Cooper's tenure. He said, and I quote, "They're trying to make a college out of this high school. Why should colored people want to go to college? The same reason white people want to go to college, Dean Bat. Shut your dumb ass up. Oh my God. Oh my God." Why would he ask a question like that? Like what? Why? First of all, you called us people, so that means we're people. You people, right? You're people too, right? Why the hell were you going to college? Like, he's saying it like we fucking dogs or something. Why colored dogs want to go to college? Why do cats want to go to college? We people, we going to college with other people, learning with the same damn brain as other people, speaking the same language as other people. What the hell wrong with you? That's why I think half of them is not human. I think they aliens. Well, let me not say aliens. I'll say they're another life form, because I think that would be an insult to aliens. Look, if the aliens come, I'm good. I've been advocating for the aliens since before time. I'm on the alien side. Go Thanos. I am Team Thanos. Yes, Thanos. I am Team Thanos. Kill them all. Shit. Kill them all. Thanos. Wipe them out. Wipe them out, sir. Wipe them out. They the problem. Thanos came here and said, you know what? There's something wrong here. And I don't know who the problem is, but let me just do some calculations. I got a hypothesis, and I'm going to just use the scientific method. I got to get rid of one of these variables. And then go back and see, like, let me go back and see if that works. Wipe them out. Let's see how the world is now that you fools ain't here. And fools meaning humans. Thanos said something wrong with them. I'm Team Thanos. Okay. So, now this man said this about black kids. He also said this about the he said this about Anna Julia Cooper's style and what she was trying to do at Dunbar High School. And so that was not only an insult to those kids, but also to her being a dedicated educator as she was. You don't tell me to tell my kids they can't go to college. What the hell wrong with you? Now, this also just shows us the uphill battle that her and her colleagues had to face in their quest to provide education to black students. And not just education, but quality, rigorous education. They know that we can do all things. And all they were doing was just setting that standard as high as it should be set, knowing that, we knocking it out the park anytime. Either way, we are the people of everything, basically. We did create everything. Hell, we was the first ones. That kind of dismissive and prejudiced attitude towards the education of black students is enraging. Yet it highlights the resilience and determination of black educators like Miss Cooper. They were not fighting for education but battling against a system that sought to keep us, African Americans, in a state of subjugation and ignorance. Her persistence and excellence in the face of such adversity make her achievements all the more remarkable and inspiring. Now, before we move on, it's also worth mentioning a few things about the school boards. The segregated school board and superintendent system in the United States was a product of a broader system of racial segregation. And this was in the aftermath of the Civil War during the Jim Crow era. After the end of Reconstruction in the 1870s, of course, we know many southern states and some northern states, remember I told you, they ain't friends, they ain't our friends. They just ain't like the appearance of slavery, but yes, they wanted to keep us subjugated. The North ain't innocent in this. Passed a series of laws and ordinances that institutionalized racial segregation in all aspects of public life, including education. This led to the creation of a separate and almost always unequal schools for blacks and white students. In this system, school boards and superintendents were often segregated by race, with white individuals occupying the positions of power, even over schools for black students. Now, this is what I'm telling you, what I was talking about the last time when folk was talking about, we were better off when we was segregated. Shut the hell up. Close your mouth. Close. Stop it. Don't say another word. You don't know shit. You wasn't there, okay? And it seemed like you haven't read about there. So how about you not talk about there, okay? These white-dominated boards and superintendents had control over funding, hiring, policy making for all schools, including black schools. This often resulted in, remember the $5 that we pay? The $5 that we pay to the government? Black people pay $5, white people pay $5. White people get back $4, black people get back $1. Where's my $3? Run me my money, okay? This is how that happened. Black schools ended up receiving less funding, fewer resources. We can call that money, other monies, okay? Less funding, fewer resources. Less money, fewer monies, okay? And older facilities compared to their white counterparts. The curriculum and educational opportunities in black schools were also typically limited, aiming more to reinforce the status quo of racial hierarchy rather than provide a quality education that would lead to upward mobility. They wanted to keep us subjugated. They wanted us to be the subjects of them. And they sought to do it through our education system. And in some ways, they've achieved it. That's why I'm here now. Shit. Trying to undo some shit. Black educators, therefore, not only had to teach in under-resourced environments, resource, under money. Okay. Why we don't have the resources? Because we ain't got the money. We got to pay people. We got to pay for stuff. Under resource, under money environments, but also had to constantly advocate and fight against the system designed to limit the educational advancement of their students. They had to navigate these challenges while also providing a quality education to black children, often innovating with limited resources, limited monies, and creating curriculum that included black history and culture, which were usually absent from the standard educational materials of the time. Now, that is the story of my life. Okay? What are they telling us? Often innovating with limited resources, often innovating with limited monies. Okay? You see, that's when you hear that term, black people do a whole lot with a little. That's what that means. Black teachers do a whole lot with a little. Innovating, that's us. Creating shit. Because that's what we do. In there, creating shit, solving problems, all that. We doing all that. Writing books. Hell, I'm pretty sure that was one of the tasks. There was some black teachers. I know, because I've seen some. I can't tell you the titles offhand. But them black teachers was in there writing whole damn books. Whole damn books, study guides, everything. To teach our history and culture. And this segregated and unequal system was a reflection of the broader societal belief in the inferiority of African Americans and was designed to maintain racial hierarchies. It wasn't until the landmark Supreme Court case decision Brown v. Board of Education in 1954 that the legal foundation of segregated public schools was challenged and ultimately overturned, though the fight for equal educational opportunities continue. Okay, yes, continue. Yes, today. I do a lot with a little. These historical episodes serve as a reminder of the systemic barriers that African Americans faced and continue to confront in the pursuit of equality and education. The courage and tenacity of educators like my girl, Anna Julia Cooper, in such a hostile environment are a testament to the enduring spirit of the black community. They fought not just for education, but for dignity, respect, and the right to think and dream freely. Anna Julia Cooper's vision for inclusive education set a foundation for generations, emphasizing the role of education in achieving equality. Now, let's get to my city where I'm at. Houston, Texas, the Gregory School. A pioneering institution in black education, it's a story of community resilience and the pursuit of knowledge against all odds. Okay, let's get through this. The Gregory School. Now, I just actually learned about the Gregory School just recently doing research, because now it's not a school. It's an African American library, if I'm not mistaken, because I went there. I went there to do some research, and um, there's some rich history there. If you are in Houston or from Houston, I think it's worth um, actually just going there and just getting some of the information there. They have a lot of information about Black people in this city, but also Black people in surrounding cities. It's a lot of information. The Gregory School was established in 1870 in Houston, Texas. Wow. Stands as a significant chapter in the history of African American education as the city's first public school for African Americans. Wow. Now, this was 1870 in the South. In the South. This was 15 years. Oh, no. Wait. Did I say 15? Oh, gosh. I teach history, not math, y'all. Uh, this was 5 years after, uh, 5 years after the Civil War. The Civil War ended in 1865, and this was 1870. Just 5 years. It don't take us long, do it? It don't take us long. As the city's first public school for African Americans, its impact on the Black community cannot be overstated. This institution represented more than just a place of learning. It was a symbol of progress and a beacon of hope during a time when educational opportunities for Black Americans were severely limited. The school's establishment shortly after the end of the Civil War and during the Reconstruction era was a direct response to the thirst for education among newly freed slaves and their descendants. I told y'all, we like education. We like to learn. We want to learn it, master it, beat it, and then make something better. That's us. That's all us right there. It provided not only basic literacy and number skills, but also became a space where African American culture and history could be celebrated and taught, fostering a sense of pride and identity among its students. The Gregory School's influence extended beyond its classrooms. It served as a community center and a hub for social and intellectual development within Houston's Black community. Alumni of the Gregory School went on to become leaders and influencers, contributing significantly to the cultural and economic growth of the African American community in Houston and beyond. Despite facing challenges such as inadequate funding, inadequate monies, no monies, racial discrimination, and limited resources, the educators and administrators of the Gregory School demonstrated remarkable resilience and dedication. Their commitment ensured that generations of African American students received an education that challenged the prevailing stereotypes and limitation imposed by segregation. The story of the Gregory School is a testament to the power of education as a tool for empowerment and change. It highlights the critical role that educational institutions play in uplifting marginalized communities and shaping future leaders. To further enrich your understanding of the profound impact of the Gregory School on Houston's African American community, I highly recommend exploring a few resources. The History of the Gregory School, Houston's first African American public school, and that's available through the Houston Public Library. It offers an in-depth look at the school's foundational role in education. Additionally, Education in the Black Community, A History of the Gregory School by the Texas State Historical Association provides a comprehensive historical analysis and personal narrative. For those interested in firsthand accounts and more personal stories, I visited myself the African American Library at the Gregory School, and I looked at some oral histories and archive materials. Um, the resources not only shed light on the school's significant legacy, but also a deeper understanding of the challenges and triumphs of African Americans during a transformative era. Um, the uh, I hate that the archives is not online. They don't have a lot of them online. Um, but you get a better feeling when you actually go inside. I me myself like libraries. For some reason, the libraries always have a book on display that is not in my radar, and so it's always like going to the store when you're hungry and you just going down the aisles and you're like, oh, that look good. You know what? A salad sure would sound nice today. And that's how I am when I'm in the library. Just going through it, some of the stuff that you wouldn't believe or you wouldn't, that, just wouldn't cross your mind about somewhere that, this is where I am. And some of the stuff I had no idea. It the school became the school. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. What? So the school they ended up, I guess I want to say they ended up turning the school into a library. Um, because the library is called the Gregory School's African American, whatever. Um, they're not open every day, so that's one thing that I kind of was, down about because they wasn't open every day. But it's okay. It's not a big deal. We can adjust. So so the last story I'm going to talk about is, and I encourage everybody to visit whatever African American repository you have in your community. Like, just go there and see. It's a different kind of feeling that you get when you're from this place or you're in this place. And when I say this place, I mean, a city, a town, whatever, geographical location. It's a different kind of feeling when you start looking at stuff where a time where you wasn't there, wasn't even thought of. And it's so much stuff that was happening or that was going on when, you wouldn't imagine some of those things was happening. But it it gives you a lot. It kind of makes you look at your city different. At least for me, it did. Okay, now our final story is about Charlotte Grimké, whose diaries provide a unique insight into the education of freed slaves during the Civil War and Reconstruction era. Now, I like her. I like Charlotte Grimké. I like her words. Um, she sounded like a regular teacher. I mean, if you just read some of her diaries, I mean, she documented a lot, but um she her writings sounded like just like me in a classroom like last year. Like, it is it's just so, that's so wild to me how we are in different times and yet we experience some of the same things almost exactly the same way. Like I share her sentiments in some of these diary entries. So she vividly captures the essence of her experience as an African American educator during the Civil War and Reconstruction eras. An excerpt uh, from her writings reflect on her time teaching slaves on St. Helena Island, South Carolina. Okay. And here she writes April 23rd, 1862. Okay, I want to put on a nice uh black 1862 teacher. Now, watch, I'm not going to sound no different. And she's this in her writing, she sounds like a first year teacher though, really. Cuz it's kind of like it kind of sounds like me, but that first year, boy, you think boy, okay, let me not discourage first year teachers. Okay. April 23rd, 1862. Today was filled with the kind of joy that only a teacher can know. In the bright eyes of these eager learners, I see a future unfurling, a future where they too can stand as equals in this divided nation. Each question they ask, each lesson they learn, feels like a step not in their education, but in our collective journey towards freedom and understanding. Doesn't that sound doesn't that sound like a first year teacher? Oh my gosh, it sounds like a first year teacher. That first year teachers always use joy. Okay, no, I am kidding. Let me stop playing with Miss Charlotte, okay? Okay. So that excerpt came from the journals of Charlotte Grimké, edited by Brenda Stevenson. And it talks about her deep commitment to education and her use of education as a tool of empowerment. Her words transcend time, really, painting a picture of hope, transforming through learning. Her reflections are a testament to the power of education in shaping not just individual destinies, but also the broader societal narrative. This is another one, broader societal narrative. Who does that sound like? Anna Julia Cooper. I need you to get your spirit together. You gonna learn you some reading. You gonna learn some writing. You gonna learn some math, and you gonna learn some spirit. Okay? You gonna learn how to be a person. You gonna learn how to be a human. You can't just read and write. You gotta have some feeling. You gotta see your people as you. That's a Charlotte. That's a Miss Charlotte right there. Now, this passage from her diaries highlight the profound impact on education on both the educator and the students. And this is, of course, in the context of African American history, us, because we saw a lot of how they documented so much stuff. Boy, these people show told on themselves, huh? Didn't they? Mm-mm-mm. But we didn't see much of it with us documenting ourselves because, remember, of course, it was against the law for us to know how to read and write. Most of the time, there were several occasions where people would they would tell their stories to other people that would publish their works or their personal stories or whatever. Very, very little did we see people of that time, writing their own and publishing their own. One book comes to mind, Narrative and Life of a slave. And um gosh, so she published this book under a different name, but um I want to say, okay, so I want to say, so it's Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, written by Harriet Jacobs. Now, this book was re this book was republished in, oh gosh. So I know it was Dr. Caretha Mitchell republished this story, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. Now, this, yes, I see it. Okay. Now, this was, if you, well, I suggest reading it. Okay. So, first of all, get Incidents of the Life of a Slave Girl, edited by Caretha Mitchell. You get that. And then when you read it, you'll see how she's telling this story to someone else, and then that other person actually is the one that actually published it, because she also too was in hiding for, oh gosh, I can't even remember how long it was, but she was in hiding from her slave master for a long time. So she so that's typically what we saw in that time frame. People wasn't, I mean, you didn't have a bunch of black people just writing books and shit. So this Miss Charlotte's diaries is, it's almost something that, I mean, something we would rarely see. And then it's not just her talking about the kids, but it's also talking about how she is as a teacher in the profession, and dealing with, you know, having to come down to teach formerly enslaved people. Now, her ability to see the larger significance of her work beyond the immediate classroom setting into the broader spectrum of social change and racial equality is deeply inspiring. This is what teachers need to be. Teachers do need to see their work beyond the classroom. If you can't see your work beyond the classroom, then I'm side-eyeing you. I keep saying that about teachers, huh? What's this beef? What's my beef with teachers? Well, it's a lot of teachers that don't want to teach, but also it's not a lot of us teaching our kids. And so that's mainly what them slugs at, okay? I ain't shooting slugs at black educators. I'm shooting slugs at white educators educating black kids, not seeing them as human. That's who them slugs for. Okay. Anyway, her diaries not only serve as a historical account of a pivotal time in American history, but also as a reminder of the enduring power of education to ignite change and foster hope in the face of adversity. So that group of the first black teachers to go south to teach free slaves were just something out of this world. Let me read you a part of her diary that is just, it's just everything to me. Okay, I'm gonna get my first year 1860s educator voice. Oh no, this is 1864, okay? Okay, Miss Charlotte is not Miss Charlotte no more. This is Miss Grimké now. Okay. Is it you've been in 2 years? Oh no, no. This is Miss Grimke. This is Mrs. Grimke now. No, matter of fact, the kids are calling her Miss. She been there that long. It's just Miss. Okay, let me get my veteran teacher on. The task is complex and often wearing. Yet there is a profound joy in that none but a teacher can know. To educate the young minds of those who were once bound, to watch the light of understanding dawn in their eyes, is a privilege of unspeakable value. Despite the many challenges each day, I am reminded that our work does more than impart knowledge. It kindles a flame of hope and determination in hearts that have known great despair. Ooh, Miss Charlotte. Look at you, Miss Charlotte. Miss Charlotte done grown up. Y'all see that? She done grown up. Yeah, she been in the game. She been in the game. Now this sound like a teacher that's in the trenches. Okay? She is talking about it. She said those who were once bound. She called that light of understanding. Whew. Now this is how you know you're doing what you're doing because you love doing it. She telling us right there. Ooh, y'all, this shit is taxing. But I love it. That's what she's saying. But I love it. This reflection from Charlotte Grimke echoes a sentiment that is likely familiar to many Black educators today. Hello, me, hello. It speaks to the unique challenges and joys inherent in the role of an educator, especially in communities that have historically faced systemic barriers. Grimke's words highlight the dual role of a teacher to educate and to inspire. In her recognition of education as a transformative tool, one that brings light to those who have been marginalized, she encapsulates a timeless truth about the power and responsibility of educators. Her diary entry is a poignant reminder of the impact that dedicated teachers can have, not only in their students' academic achievements, but also in their sense of hope and their ability to overcome adversity. Miss Charlotte's work as an educator and writer underscores the critical role women played in shaping Black education during a transformative period in our history. I want to delve into another story. This is the last one for the team. And I really like this one. I did not know this. Y'all, doing this here has really, really gave me some information about some stuff that I would have loved to have known. I mean, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I would have just immersed myself in some of this stuff. Now, this is often overlooked, but it's about the founding of the first public school for African Americans in New Orleans in 1868. This is in the NO, y'all. The NO. Look, 1868. The Civil War ended in 1865. Let me just remind you, got to go back and keep your mind on track, okay? 1865, Civil War ended. 1868, they establishing a public school for African Americans. 1870 was the Gregory School. 1892, Miss Anna Julia Cooper said what she said. Look at that, y'all. They did not stop. They was on a constant. They were constantly fighting. They was on that train, y'all. They didn't get off the track. They did not get off the track. Now, the first public school for African Americans in 1868. Civil War ended in 1865. Y'all tell me who started public education in this country? Come on now. Okay. We ain't gonna. Okay. All right. I won't point it out. I'm just saying. 3 years. Took us 3 years. And I'm sure we did this with nothing. Okay. Now, let's dive into another story that is often overlooked, mainly because it's not a lot of information out there about it. But I did some digging and I was able to find something. Now, there were a lot of published material on education of blacks in the South, and there they were, some were based on the cities, some were based on states, or some were just based on a particular region in general. I was able to find some material about the education of blacks in New Orleans. And I think I encouraged people, if you're in the city, to go to your city's library repository as a resource to get some of the information on the history of, or the history during the Civil War before the end of enslavement, because most of that history is going to be in one of those type of repositories. It's probably going to be real difficult for you to find something about it online unless you're looking specifically for something. So if you know what you're looking for, then it may be a little easier for you to find material on it. But the best place, I believe, is inside, of an actual library. So now it's about the founding of the first public school for African Americans in New Orleans in 1868. Now, of course, we know there was a lot of opposition to start this school, but it's a story of coming together to build something lasting for our community. And let me just give you some history on how it came about. So it was 1868. It was a landmark development in the history of education in the United States. In the context of the Civil War and Reconstruction era, mainly, this groundbreaking initiative was rooted in a broader critique of Southern society by Northern reformers and soldiers who saw a neglect of education in the South as a major impediment to its growth and development. Now, remember before we talked about a little bit about how the North looked at the South as far as, the North kind of saw themselves as, the intellectual beings. And they really looked down on the South, not just the black people of the South, but also the white people of the South. But rightfully so, because once I get into this, you'll kind of see why. But now, New Orleans, however, was diverged from the typical Southern pattern due to its increased urbanization during the antebellum period. The city had already established a public school system in 1841 under the leadership of John A. Shaw, who was influenced by, of course, the educational philosophy of Horace Mann. We should know Horace Mann. Well, if you're an educator, you would know something about Horace Mann. This system modeled after the concept of universal education prevalent in northern cities, especially those in New England, laid the groundwork for public education in the city. Now, despite the progress, the challenge in New Orleans was not in the concept of public education itself, but rather it could be extended to include the black population, basically. So there was a number of free blacks in the South in New Orleans. So prior to the Civil War, some blacks in New Orleans had already taken steps toward education, with children studying in France or being taught by tutors. Doesn't take us long. Man, we gravitate to education wherever it goes, however we can get it. Notably, Madame Bernard Cavot, a free woman of color, bequeathed a significant sum of the creation of a school for impoverished free black children, which became the Institute Catholic Orphelines Indigents. I'm assuming that's a French word. Of course, I don't know French, but I do know that New Orleans was French territory before the Louisiana Purchase. So, and this also is Catholic. So, of course, we can assume that it was religious school. Boy, they love them, don't they? Okay. Additionally, a small group of black nuns called the Sisters of Holy Family. The Sisters of the Holy Family. And a school run by Carmelite nuns also provided education. However, the number of illiterate blacks seeking, that's us looking, seeking, us wanting education after 1862 was overwhelming. And public education quickly became more crucial than private school due to its affordability. Of course, these were formerly enslaved people or enslaved people. These were, of course, black people. You know, we could not make a living. Yeah, there's that. There was no benefit to slavery. The Union Army played a significant role in the establishment of these schools in the 1800s, during the Civil War. Union officials responding to a request from black leaders and Army chaplain Thomas Conway began considering the establishment of black schools. Look at us. Look at us. Advocating for us. Major General Nathan P. Banks authorized, oh gosh, I might be related to this guy. No. Related by marriage. That don't count, right? Okay. Well, I guess he wasn't such a bad guy, though. So that was Major General Nathan P. Banks authorized the creation of black schools and a board of education for black education in 1863 and 1864, respectfully. By December 1864, only 9 months after Banks's initial decree, 3,220 black students were attending these schools. 3,220 black students were attending these schools. This initiative represented the first organized attempt by a public agency to educate Southern blacks. Board of Education officials like B. Rush Pumbly and Mortimer Warren, y'all know he was white. Okay, let me stop. Praised the eagerness and capability of black students, countering prevailing stereotypes of the time. Warren, in particular, noted a widespread thirst for knowledge in the black community, a sentiment echoed in homes and churches. The establishment of the first public school for African Americans in New Orleans, therefore, was not just an educational milestone, it was a significant step towards racial equality and societal transformation. It marked the beginning of a new era where education was seen as a right for all, irrespective of race, and laid the foundation for future advancements in educational equality. Now, that is something. That is something. Something else, isn't it? I want to also add, in my research, I also learned of some numbers in regards to I learned some numbers about the education of blacks, but also I would call it the not prioritizing. Okay, let me say this. How whites in the South did not prioritize education. Okay, yeah, that's what I want to say. The Northerners often noted that poor, uneducated whites retarded the South's growth as much as the uneducated slave. Oh my gosh. So let me just read y'all some of this just a tiny bit, okay? Just a tiny bit. Oh, just they the North has said that the South agrarian economy and reliance on slave labor contributed to a neglect of education. So who they would call the Yankees actually said that it is their belief that that poor, uneducated whites is what kept the South behind. And they were no more better than the uneducated black enslaved or formerly enslaved. And so if you think about the establishment of public schools in this area, they were basically saying that this was necessary for the South to even develop beyond slavery. Like, there would be no future because the nature of slavery and all of its focus, and basically how they put everything into slavery. If people, I mean, it's no way you can get around it. There was, whatever you did in the South at the time, you had, especially if you were white, you had something to do with slave labor. And the enforcement of the slave labor was totally surrounding violence. It was all about violence. They violently forced people to work in such conditions. They violently had people under the whip and lash. And so if that's the only thing, and this is what the white Northerners were saying, is that they were so focused on violently keeping and maintaining slaves that they held back the entire South. And in all honesty, I can't disagree with that, because if you is somebody that if you went through your day just looking at nothing but violent videos, and that shit really is it's addicting. Your focus, and they didn't just, this wasn't just them watching videos. I mean, they really lived this. It was constant. You had to have people constantly under physical threat of harm or death, even violence at a daily, I mean, this is just every single day. That's why I don't like when people try to say that, all slaves didn't endure the same thing, whatever. No, they probably didn't, but another slave did, and then that other slave saw it. So this is just a constant scene of, physical violence towards other humans. It's not anything new that would make a people or humans not shift their focus to solely violent things. That's what they were saying they were doing in the South. They set up and watched so many violent videos to the point where their brains don't even function. Now, this is they people saying this, okay? This ain't me. This is them. They made the South worse off, if not worse, than the slaves, than the uneducated slaves, because the uneducated slave, in a sense, the uneducated slave was educated in some way, and it was usually something that was dealing with, hard labor. The slaves learned a system. They developed the system, and that system was like the engine that drove the full Southern economy. So you have a group of people that are using skill to drive an economy. And then you have another group that is just lording over people with violence. They're not learning nothing. Hell, you know how to shoot somebody. That's one time you learn how to shoot. And you can't shoot all day. So, how far that's going to take you? They probably didn't know how to read, so they can't go further than just basically enacting more violence on people. And so it's just perpetuating a continued cycle of violence. And they didn't say it, but I'm saying it. The violence made them stupid, or the violence kept them stupid. They didn't, and it wasn't educated. There was a study that I read that said that during the 60s, I want to say, yes, during the 60s, y'all know I love that era. That is my time. Um, During the 60s, there was, they were enacting these literacy tests for, it was basically to prevent black people from voting. Well, this was some fat cat sitting up in the building somewhere, probably had a law degree back then, saying, you know what? We're going to make these Negroes read in order for them to vote. They got to read first. Because, see, they just thinking about past histories. And they saying, well, I remember we didn't let them Negroes read the whole time they was in slavery. So, hell, they can't read now. I mean, because it's the 60s. It's the 50s and the 60s. They sitting there trying to vote. They need to know how to read the ballot. So what we going to do, we going to test them. We going to give these Negroes a test. And these Negroes got to show us that they know how to read in order for them to get a ballot. And if they can't read, they can't vote. Yep, that's what we going to do. Until they start handing out them literacy tests, y'all. Let me tell you. Oh, boy, I would love to have been a fly on the wall for that one. Half the motherfuckers giving the literacy test wasn't literate. They asses couldn't read. How the hell you know that's the right answer? You can't read. Not to mention, your dumbass cousin then came down here and tried to get his dumbass a ballot, and he can't pass the goddamn literacy test. The damn people saw that it was more white people failing the literacy test than it was black people. So they said, oh, shit, we got to scrap that. They said, oh, shit, Dan, God damn it. You done made these fools read, and you forgot our cousins can't read. God damn. Scrap that. Throw it away. Shit. We can't make these fools read. Fuck. Can't nobody goddamn read. Matter of fact, the Negroes is reading better than the goddamn white people. We didn't think about educating them first before we brought up this literacy test. Who the hell you think you is, Dan? You just walk your old uppity ass in here telling everybody they got to know how to read and shit. And now you done got half the goddamn South. You got half the goddamn South failing the test. They ain't even getting the damn ballots. We need them ballots. We need some goddamn votes. So in the 1800s, the Northerners was warning them. They had warned them. But they said, no, y'all don't know what the hell y'all talking about. We gonna keep this going how it's going. Shit, my kids don't need no school. Fuck it. They learn how they learn. You know how they gonna learn? They gonna learn from the barrel of the shotgun. That's how they gonna learn. I don't need no numbers. I don't need to know how to count. I don't need to know how to read. I know how to shoot. I can survive. Well, you know what? That is funny as fuck, because although that was several hundred years ago, yeah, we got some people that think like that right now. Yes, today. I heard someone actually tell me that. I won't repeat what he said, but he said it. Mm-hmm. He didn't care about reading, writing, adding, or subtracting. He said, give me the check. He said, cut the check. That's what he said. Mm-hmm. Damn fool don't even realize. If your ass can't count, I'll cut you all a whole bunch of goddamn checks. I cut you a whole bunch of checks. Make them out to cash. For the amount of $0.00. And I'm going to write it in. And I'm going to write it in cursive too. Under the right-hand line. Send your ass right down to the bank. They're going to say, okay, sir, I'll cash this right away for you. Soon as you cash that check, she going to come back and say, that's all. They going to say, where my money at? Well, sir, the check says $0 and 0 cents. I have successfully deposited into your account. The funds may be held for 10 days. Please don't use that. Don't use that $0 for 10 days. He'll say $0. I thought this was a blank check. You're right, sir. It is a blank check, meaning it is blank. It has no value at all. Oh gosh, okay, I need to stop. I am cracking myself up on this. Okay. So that, as we conclude today, that is the end of my time today. Let's reflect on the theme of education as a tool for liberation. These stories illustrate how education has been central to the journey of Black empowerment and self-determination. That is a wrap today. Thank you for joining me on this educational deep dive into our past history to better understand our present and shape our future. I am Nitra, your host on the Political Education for Freedom podcast. Remember, education is our passport to the future. Stay curious, stay committed, and keep shaping a legacy that future generations will look back on with pride. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep honoring the legacy of our educational pioneers. Until next time, remember, you are history and history is you. How will the future read you? Thank you.